Hello, hello. Welcome. Hi, guys. Welcome to paint night. Hi, welcome. While we're getting started, let's just do a couple audio checks. Let me know if you can hear me okay. I am live on both Facebook and Instagram right now. Thank you for the thumbs up. Awesome. I'm going to give it a couple minutes just to make sure we get everybody on before we begin to paint. Cool, you joined me last week. Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to just talk about the connection for a minute. If by chance your image is blurry or the audio cuts out, I'll do my best on my end, but you have to know too that it could also be your own internet access and thing too. So just so you know, as we go on through the night, there may be hiccups. It might be me, it could be you, so just be patient with me if that's the case. As we're waiting too, why don't you go ahead and tell me where you guys are watching from? Awesome. Yeah, comment below on both Facebook and Instagram. I want to know where you guys are viewing from. We got St. George, Los Angeles, Cincinnati, wow. North Carolina, my goodness. Arkansas, rainy California, Northern California, St. George, Meridian. California, Monroe, Utah, Parowan. Sweet, I love seeing where everybody is from. Nephi, or where you're viewing from. Oklahoma. Wow, thank you guys for joining me tonight. I'm so excited to paint. Virginia, Mexico, Ohio, holy cow, Washington, New York, Texas, California, Ohio again. Wow. We've got people all over the place. That's awesome. Welcome to Paint Night. My name is Kate. I am from Made by Kate, so I felt so privileged when Pick Your Plum reached out to me. To do a virtual paint night. We've got Idaho, California, West Valley, Southern California, Ogden, San Francisco. Also, for those on Instagram and Facebook, if the connection is being weird for either Facebook or Instagram, feel free to jump from one to the other. In my experience, it seems like Facebook is a little bit better for the lives, so if Instagram has a problem, just go ahead and jump on Facebook. The page is Pick Your Plum. And also, while we're waiting for just another minute or two, let's talk about your materials. Where are you? I am living in central Utah right now, Richfield. Okay, so materials. Make sure you have your canvas or something to paint on. We had paint kits being sold through Pick Your Plum, so if you have that, that's great. You should have your paint, a canvas, brushes, and also make sure you have a plate or something for your palette, a paper towel for washing or drying your brushes off, and water for rinsing your brushes out. Welcome to paint night, guys. Let me know where you guys are watching from. I just went over the materials, so make sure you have what you need. This will last about 2 hours. And just so you know, I will work at a quicker pace, but I'll be sure to give time for you guys to catch up. However, I cannot wait for everybody, so please be patient. Just follow along as best you can, and if you need to, go back later to get a part if you can, if you need to. But I can't wait around for everybody or else we would be here all night. So just give me a little warning about that. I'm excited you guys are here too. Thank you for joining me. We've got Ontario, California, Orem. Awesome. Okay, so just a little reminder, I'm going to just go over what I kind of already have said. I'm on both Facebook and Instagram right now on Pick Your Plums platforms. If one or the other goes out, just feel free to jump back and forth. In my own experience, it seems like Facebook works a little bit better for lives. Also, Instagram Live should be up for 24 hours afterwards, but on Facebook it should be up for at least a week afterwards. Does this photo have something to do with your religion like last time? Nope, it's just a sunflower field. Thank you for joining me though. Hi, I'm from Dallas. That's awesome. Okay. Another thing I love to do, I love to answer questions. So as we get going, if you guys have any questions, please go ahead and ask. I'll answer all that I can, and I'll do my best to hopefully see all of them. Okay, so let's get started. I'm gonna switch out my canvas for a blank canvas. And just so you know, because there were paint kits sold, I will be doing my best at explaining which colors to use and when. For those who have the kit, for those who don't. And then, like I said, ask questions if you have any. And thank you guys for being here. I'm so excited. Okay. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with the background. We are going to start by painting the sky, and we're going to work from the top to the bottom. So I need you guys to get your big brushes out. And we're going to start with blue. So what we're going to be using, I want you to set out your darker blue, your lighter blue, white, and a yellow for right now. So for those who have the kits, that is the darker blue, the cobalt blue, titanium white, and the yellow ochre. If you don't have these paint colors, just do something similar, like 2 blue, blue cotton, a white, and a king's gold is what I would suggest. Before you put that on your plate, I just wanted you to set that aside so that we have it ready. What I want you to do first is add about a quarter size or more of your dark blue. We're going to start with the darker blue at the top. We're going to be blending it down into the lighter blue and then to the white, and then we'll add a little bit of yellow. So we're doing the background first, and that's the sky. So with your darker blue color, go ahead and put about a quarter size of blue on your plates. While you're at it, I want you to put a little bit of the lighter blue as well, maybe a nickel size. Also, if you guys, this is a common question, how do you get rid of the comments? You just have to use your finger to either swipe off of whatever device you're watching off of. You can pull it down or swipe it over to get rid of the comments so that you can see the screen clearly. Will this be saved on Facebook after today? Yes, it will be saved on Pick Your Plums Facebook for at least a week afterwards. And I'm also adding some white to my plate as well. And this time I'm only going to do about a dime size of white. So that way we have our paints ready to go, because the blending process, we need our paints to be wet. We don't want them to dry. So we want all of our paints on our canvas before we start, at least just for these ones. And I'm going to do just a little dab of yellow too. Okay, I'm going to give you a second to get those paints on your plates. and then we'll get started. All right, I'm using my big brush, and I'm going to start with my dark blue. This is just the top of the skyline here. Let's see, let's make sure we're centered on both screens. Okay, we're good. Okay, we're gonna start from the top. If you are right-handed, the best suggestion I can give you is to start from top to bottom, left to right. And if you are left-handed, you wanna go from top to bottom, right to left. That's gonna help prevent your hand from smearing the paint all over the canvas. You don't want your hand to get painted on. I mean, if it does, it's okay, but just to prevent. Paint does go a long way, so make sure you're pushing it all the way across your canvas before you're putting more onto your canvas. We don't want to wait forever for it to dry either, so just make sure that you're going back and forth. Big brush strokes, big horizontal brush strokes. And we're going to go down about 2 inches with this blue for right now. This darker blue down about 2 inches from the top. Some of you might think, oh, it's kind of streaky. How do I get rid of the streaks? Just keep brushing back and forth, left to right, big brush strokes. It may be a little bit streaky for you still, but that's okay. Just remember this is the background and we'll be painting things over the top. So we don't need to be too particular about these steps right now. So about 2 inches, maybe 2.5 inches from the top, just paint the blue all the way down to the edges. Now, without washing your brush, go ahead and dip in the lighter blue color. And we're gonna paint that all the way down too. We're gonna go about another 2 inches with this lighter blue color. Okay, the way we're going to blend, you're going to just paint that back about 2 inches down, and then with your brush going back and forth, you just pull your brush back up and back down on that edge right there. It's gonna soften it up. If you still can't figure out why it's not blending for sure, I'll give you a tip, just a sec. Because we don't want harsh lines in this blend. We want them to blend really well. So I'm not even gonna bother washing my brush. See, I went down another about 2 inches. I am just going to dip my brush back into the darker blue color, go right on top of this line right here, and just go back and forth. Back and forth, back and forth, maybe a little bit higher, a little bit lower, and that's gonna help make that line seamless. That's gonna blend it right together, just as I want it. Blending can be tricky for some people, so just be patient with yourself. And I just dipped my brush back in the dark blue and I'm painting on the very top now and just pulling it across. Okay, while you still have your brush pretty blue, go ahead and dip in your white paint. We're still not washing our brush. We are simply just trying to get a gradient here. We want the blue to go from dark to light, and we need to have a pretty light section before we can start the yellow. If we add yellow too soon, it will turn our sky green, and we do not want a green sky. Not this time. Okay, so there's a pretty harsh line. So the same thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to paint right over the top of that line. I'm just going to go back and forth right over the top of it, slowly pulling it up as I'm going back and forth, slowly pulling it down as I'm going back and forth. And that will help you to get that seamless gradient, that seamless transition. And it's okay if it goes higher or lower. Just think of a sunset. Lots of different colors in the sky. There's no right or wrong way. But all we want right now is just to get those colors to be as seamless as we can. Okay. Now our goal right now is to get down about 3/4 of the way down our canvas. So we need to add some more white. So I'm just gonna keep my brush as it is. I'm still not washing it. I'm just dipping it back into my white and I'm just painting some more right on top. And I am gonna get some more white on my plate because I ran out. So make sure you have enough of your paints. Okay, just dipping right into my white. I'm not even washing my brush yet. Not washing helps to blend those colors too because you still have all the colors on your bristles. And that kind of just is a simple little way to like make it all kind of blend together. Remember, we're only wanting to go down about 3/4 of the way. And we want this bottom part to be pretty white with a little bit of blue. Now, if you happen to get really dark blue down here, that's okay. Just dip your brush back in the white and go right over the top of it. Remember, the key here is just to go back and forth, horizontal lines. And if you need to, you can wipe your brush off, but don't wash it yet because the washing, we don't want it to get wet quite yet. We want these colors to blend really well. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit more white. I'm almost to where I want to be. Like I said, about 3/4 down or about 2.5 inches from the bottom. No, maybe 3 inches from the bottom. And I'm just dipped my brush right in the white and I'm just brushing it right along where eventually our horizon will be. Okay, now make sure your brush is not blue. Make sure it's mostly white. And if it is, then you can dip it in your yellow. Mine's mostly white. So I'm just gonna dip it in my yellow a little bit and I'm just gonna go right on that edge, just like so. Same concept. Now I'm just slowly pulling it up as I go back and forth, back and forth. I'm not dipping my brush again. I just dipped it one time. I'm just gonna go slowly back and forth, back and forth. I'm pulling that yellow up. And that is our slight little sunset. If you want a little bit more yellow, you can dip your brush in yellow again. Do the same step. Just go right across that bottom line that we've created and then go back and forth as you pull it up. Back and forth, back and forth. Hopefully you guys aren't making too much of a green color. We don't want our sky to be too green. We just want it to be a subtle, warm yellow. And we want it to subtly go all the way, blend into the rest of the sky here. And it's okay if we have like some random pieces of yellow popping through here and there as well. And I still haven't even washed my brush yet. I'm gonna give you guys a couple minutes to get caught up on that. So please give me a thumbs up or let me know somehow that you're all caught up. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Key here is just to do those big horizontal brush strokes. That's going to help us to blend all those colors. Don't be too hard on yourself. This is just the background, and we will be painting some clouds over the top anyways, and our sunflower is going to go over the top, so don't be too hard on yourself. Holler if you have any questions. And when you're done, go ahead and wash your brush out and dry it off completely. Did you add brown to the yellow, or is that just yellow? The yellow I used was from the paint kit from Pick Your Plum, and it was just this yellow ochre. So no, I did not add any brown to it. It's just a golden yellow. Back and forth, pulling it up and down as you move across the canvas. Alrighty, we got a couple thumbs up, that's good. Don't forget to wash out your brush. Dry it off completely. I'm just going to touch up a couple of my lines here. Okay, let me know if you have any questions. Our next step is we're going to paint the green, and then we're going to paint some clouds. Actually, we'll wait for the green. We're going to do clouds first. So if you are done, make sure you have plenty of white on your plate. I would do at least a quarter size of white. I'm going to teach you how to make some clouds. All right, are we ready? Let's see, we've got a couple. All right, I'm gonna move on and we're gonna learn how to paint some clouds. So this is my favorite way to paint a cloud. I like to call it the Toy Story cloud. It's pretty simple. I just washed my brush out so it's clean, and I dipped my brush in white. I'm still using my big brush. And even though our canvas is still somewhat wet, that's okay because we want these clouds to kind of blend in with our background a bit. So to do a Toy Story cloud, I like to draw a line, just a horizontal line, that's the bottom of my cloud. And then I like to go over the top of it and do some bubbles, kind of like the clouds you would see on Toy Story. So straight line and then some bubbles on the top. And then I am just using my motion is a circular motion. And I'm just using a little bit of paint. I don't want to use too much white paint because I want these clouds to be kind of subtle. So they will take on some of the background color, but that's just fine. And so I fill it in kind of like a cotton ball, just like some circular brush strokes, dipping in my brush a little bit as I go. And then you can also kind of soften up the harsh line down at the bottom by going back and forth and kind of wiping your brush off. It's more of a little dry brush technique. And then we have a cloud. You can play around with the shape of it, whatever suits you, and then we'll just add a couple little highlights to it by dipping your brush back in the white and kind of just doing those little bubbles right on the top. and then back to the bottom. Circular little motions. It's all about the direction that you are using your brush for that effect. So we can go back later and fix these up, but that's the initial shape of the cloud. And we're gonna add just a couple more of them here to our background color. So let's do another one. Let's do Bob Ross Happy Little Clouds. Yep, Happy Little Clouds. Do I need to wash my brush? Please wash your brush now that we're doing the clouds. Wash them out and dry it off completely. You guys can choose to do your clouds wherever you'd like. I'm just gonna show you where I'm gonna put some of mine. I'm gonna put my first one there. My next one I'll do over here a little bit lower, coming off the side. So a straight line, some bubbles on the top, and just kind of fill it in with that circular brush motion. And then soften the bottom. Do that again, dipping my brush. I'll do a bigger one down here. Straight line. And then some bubbles on the top. And then circular little brushes. Now it's not showing up too much down here, but that's okay. We can still like soften it up, make it look like there are some clouds in the distance. Oh, sorry. All right, let's see. Let's do, maybe I'll do one right here. A little straight line. And some bubbles on the top. And softening that bottom again. We just want this sky to be kind of wispy, have some fun little soft clouds in the background. All right, I'll do another one down here. Do you guys have any questions on these clouds? I'm not loving this one up here. I will go back and fix that one in a little bit. I'm going to add some smaller ones in these smaller spaces. So just this flat little bottom. If you need to switch out your brush too, go ahead. Use whatever feels comfortable to you. I'm still using my big brush, but you can use whichever one feels good to you. And don't forget, our sunflower is going to be in this general area, so we really don't need to paint much in that area because our sunflower will be there. So down here at the bottom, I'm just going to go, it's like a little dry brush technique. I'm just doing some horizontal lines, wispy lines, kind of to show that there are some clouds kind of laying across that skyline there. And I'm not going to add any up higher than I already have. I'm going to just try and fix this one that I have up here because I don't really love it too much. If you have a cloud that just completely does not work for you, let it dry, and then you can go back over it later with your sky color. I don't want you to be too unhappy with your clouds, so if you can fix it, go ahead and fix it. But if you're not unsure, then just let it dry. You can go back and redo it later. I think my cloud just wasn't working very well up here because I had just touched up that blue and it was super wet. But I think it's going to be okay now. And eventually, later, after we get our sunflower, well, I guess if you still have, never mind, scratch that. I'll explain this step in just a minute. Keep working on those clouds. And if I need to, I'll go back and fix this one maybe so later when it dries, because it's just kind of giving me some trouble right now. But that's the thing about paint, just be patient with it. It's really easy to fix if you know how to fix it. Sometimes you have to wait for it to dry. Okay. I imagine you still have some yellow on your plates, like I do. I just dipped my brush in the white and I dabbed it off a little bit, and then I'm dipping it in the yellow. I'm gonna dab it off a little bit too. And this is an extremely dry brush technique with just a tiny bit of yellow. I'm actually gonna wipe it off on my paper towel as well a little bit. And this time, I want you guys to add a little bit of yellow to the undersides of your clouds here. It's kind of like the clouds are reflecting that yellow sunset, and it's a really, really subtle little detail, but it makes a fun little difference. So, like I said, dip your brush in your white, and then dip it in the yellow, and you're gonna wipe it off, dab it off on your plate, wipe it off on your paper towel. It just needs to be really, really, really subtle. And we just wanna add a couple little yellow highlights to the bottom sides of our clouds. It's like those clouds are reflecting that pretty yellow sunset. Okay, that's all I'm gonna do for that. Let's see, we got Instagram over here. You can see a little bit better. We're all caught up, awesome. Let me know when you guys are ready to move on. Give me a thumbs up or a heart, or let me know. So we got some thumbs up. Nice. Okay, make sure you get those brushes washed out and dried off completely. We are going to do the green next. So if you bought the kit, the green we're going to be using is this. It's called Hooker's Green. A similar color is Marsh Green. You only need about a nickel size of the green, maybe a quarter size. We're going to be painting this bottom part of our canvas next. Okay, sweet. Now, this part is pretty simple. Mainly, we are just filling in this bottom part of our canvas. However, our horizon, we don't want this to be a flat horizon. We actually want it to be a little bit of a hill. So let me show you some examples. I like this swoop. This is what I'm probably going to paint. So it's not a perfectly straight line. It's just a little bit of a swoopy hillside. So go ahead and do a hill, whatever you'd like. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my big brush, and I'm just going to start a little bit above my yellow, probably not quite an inch above it. I'm going to pull it down, and my lowest part of my hill can't go below the yellow because we don't want any white to show. So if you need to start higher, you can, but it's just going to swoop down, and then it's going to head back up. So I'm painting on top of my yellow line because, like I said, I don't want this line to be a horizon, like a straight horizon. You can paint it straight if you want to, but I like the idea of like a rolling sunflower field. Once I have that initial shape, I'm just filling it in with my green, and you can go ahead and fix it. You can go higher, but I wouldn't suggest going much higher than 3.5 inches above the bottom, if that's the case. Filling it in from top to bottom, left to right. Try to push around that paint so that it covers the canvas so you don't have big blotches. And if it's stripy or showing your paint strokes, that's okay. Just try to smooth it out best you can by going back and forth and filling in that rest of the bottom part of our canvas. All right, while you guys get caught up on that, once you're finished, just be sure to wash out your brush, dry it off. And then let me know when you guys get caught up. So give me a thumbs up, give me a heart, let me know somehow. Also, while you're getting caught up, just so you guys know, this paint night is completely free, but I would happily accept tips if you'd like to tip me when we're finished. My Venmo is Made by Kate, and I will repeat that too at the very end. A little bit about me though, I've been painting for as long as I can remember. I grew up around artists. Specifically, my grandma was an artist. I watched her paint. I have 2 kids of my own, and I thought that it would be fun to do something I love, which is teaching and painting, and so why not start doing paint nights? So I actually have been doing paint nights since 2017, public paint nights, traveling and hosting them, and I provide all the materials. So when all of this stuff happened with the virus, I was super bummed. I had about 10 paint nights booked for the month of March, and almost all, well, I got 4 of them done, and then the rest of them were canceled. So I was really bummed about that. I relied heavily on my paint nights for income, and so I was super bummed until I had this idea to just try a virtual one for free, and it turned out to be a huge success. People loved it, and so since this is my 4th one that I've done so far. And they're actually really fun for me too. And I've heard good things from you guys, so thank you so much for supporting me and for being here for me too. Okay, I've got some thumbs up, some hearts, that's good. So yeah, I'm really excited for the day when I get to do another paint night in person, in real life. I love interacting. I love to help you guys. I love to actually paint on your canvas to help you out. They're just super, super fun for me. When you guys are all cut up, go ahead and get your brown ready. In the kit, it is called Raw Umber. Something similar would be melted chocolate, or let me think, what was the other one? Can't remember the other name of the brown, but just a brown, any brown color will work. We're gonna be painting the middle of our sunflower here in just a minute. Do you guys have any questions for me so far? Do we wash out our brushes after the green? Yes, please wash out your brush when you're done with the green. Okay. All right, I've got my brown on my plate. I only put about a dime size, just a little bit, and I'm still gonna use my big brush we're going to be painting the middle of our sunflower, and it is going to be about 2 inches in, what is that, diameter? 2 inches tall, 2 inches wide. Okay, we want it to be about 2.5 inches down from the top of our canvas and about 2.5 inches from the left side as well. So go ahead and just eye that, and then make sure your circle is not too small and not too big. We want it to be about 2 inches around. I'm just using my big brush. You can use whatever brush feels comfortable to you. This is still kind of small for me, so I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Don't worry about rushing at this point too. And don't worry about making your circle completely perfect either. We'll be adding the petals, and the petals will really help for that circle to even out if it is a little bit curvy. It's kind of weird transitioning from public paint nights to virtual paint nights because I'm literally sitting here all by myself, just talking to myself. And it's so weird for me because I thrive off of people. I bounce off of their energy, and I love to interact. And so when I sit here and do these lives, I just feel kind of silly, and I feel kind of crazy because I just think I would look so funny if somebody walked in and just saw me talking to myself. So please ask me questions. What color are you using for the flower right now? This is brown. Any brown will do. This is the brown that Pick Your Plum sold in their little paint kits. And I'm still just working on my circle. By the way, if you guys are interested, I do have 3 other paint classes available on my Facebook page, Made by Kate, that you can go back to watching anytime. A cactus, a colorful floral, and a sacred girl from last week. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. Why brown? We're painting a sunflower. Sunflowers, at least the sunflowers I know, have brown middles. Can you lay your finger next to the circle for size? Yeah. So I would say it's about 2 inches tall, 2 inches wide. What are your kids' names? My kids' names, I have 2 little girls, 4 and 2 years old. Lila and Nolly. What is the largest painting you've done? I actually just finished a painting. It was 24 by 30, I think. And I haven't posted any pictures of it yet, but I'm really excited to share with you guys. It was so pretty. I painted it for myself, just for fun. How can I paint your flower for you, Connie? Oh my goodness. See, I wish that I could help you, but I think you'll do just fine. So once you're done with your middle circle, wash out your brush. We're going to be done with our big brushes for now, so wash it out really, really well and dry it off. Okay, this is where we get to start painting some flowers. It's fun stuff. All right, we are going to be using yellow. So make sure you put some yellow on your plates. Let's start with a nickel size. And this is that golden yellow still. So the yellow ochre or the king's gold or something similar. I'm gonna put about a nickel size on my plate for right now. And we're gonna be using our small brush for right now. So what we're doing now is we're painting on top of our green down here, we're gonna be painting our sunflower field. Now bear with me, this is just an impressionistic painting. It's going to make an impression that this is a sunflower field. We're not getting too detailed. If you look close, we're literally just gonna be dabbing our brush along to make these shapes. So step by step, it'll eventually look like a sunflower field, so just bear with me with that. To start off, go ahead and dip your brush in your yellow. I'm using my little small brush for right now. And we're just going to start dabbing. Now, your green may be really wet still, so be sure you don't rest your hand on the canvas, because if you do, you're gonna smudge and it will make a mess. So we're just gonna be doing little dabs, and these ones are pretty small. They're close together and they go right on top of the skyline right there. Okay, so what we're gonna be doing here is just adding these little dabs along the skyline, and I'm just rotating my brush to get different shapes as I'm dabbing. And then I'm dipping my brush in the paint too when I need it. This does not need to be perfect. Actually, the more different it is, the better, because we have all different shapes of sunflowers going on in this field. And remember, it's just an impression. It's just going to make your mind think it is a sunflower field, when really they're just little dabs of yellow paint. So make sure those one along this line are close together. Rotate your wrist as you're dabbing. And as we work our way down, we're going to make those dabs bigger and thicker, as if the sunflowers are getting closer to us, so they're going to be getting bigger. One of my favorite things about these paint nights, because a lot of people get discouraged that, oh, why doesn't mine look like yours, or how is this going to come together? It's literally a step-by-step process. You just have to be patient with yourself. You have to trust in the process. You have to trust me as your instructor and do your best to listen to my instructions and to follow along. Okay, now in my second row as I'm going down, I'm still rotating my hand as I dab, but I'm putting a little bit more pressure and I'm dabbing them, making them bigger. I haven't switched out my brush. I'm just simply making those dabs bigger. Now, we don't want perfect straight lines either, so make sure that you're kind of going all over the place. We want them to be, we don't want perfectly straight lines. Simple as that. Can you move the painting up a bit? Which yellow? This is the golden yellow. It's called King's Gold or yellow ochre. Yellow ochre. So remember, our dabs are going to get bigger as we get closer to the bottom of our canvas. And make sure you're not making perfectly straight lines. We don't want the perfectly straight lines. I'm going to go ahead and dab some over here on this left side so that you can see what I'm talking about by getting bigger and bigger. And I'm literally using the same brush. I'm just pushing differently, pressing harder, and maybe putting a little bit more paint on it. And when we get down here at the bottom too, we will actually put a couple, like we'll do a dab and then we can add a couple little petals just like that off of the side. We don't want to be too particular, too perfect either, because like I said, it's just an impression. It's just giving us the impression that this is a sunflower field that's rolling. Keep asking questions if you have them, and keep dabbing. And just so you know, if we were in person, I would make you dab in real life. If you don't know what that is, ask your kids. The kids love it. How much space should we be putting in between each flower. We want some green to show, but some of these we want to really like mesh together. So really it's just kind of random. The biggest point here is just making sure that those in the very back, so those ones closest to this edge, are teeny little dabs, and they're getting bigger as they get closer to the bottom. Is this painting your own design? How do you come up with your designs? Yes, it is my own design. I have worked with businesses before, and I've been exposed to firsthand the importance of copyright. And I mean, being in an artist world, it's really hard not to copy other people. So I've tried really hard on my own to come up with my own designs so that I can be unique to myself and so that I don't feel any type of guilt offering something knowing that it wasn't my own design. Now, do I get inspired by other people's? Yes, of course. I love Pinterest. I'm all over Pinterest. I love pinning ideas, and a lot of times I'll see something, or I'll see, say, 3 different images, and then I'll kind of put them together in my own head, and I'll create my own based off of those 3. But yeah, this is my own design. I created this for, this was a specific, well, let's see, I think this was a specific painting somebody wanted for a birthday. They loved sunflowers, so they wanted some type of sunflower painting. So I came up with it for that birthday party, and then I ended up using it for a county fair. I got to do about 6 paint nights for the county fair here in Sevier County, and this was one of them. Everybody loved it. Thanks for the questions. I love answering them. Remember to rotate your wrist as you're dabbing, just so that you get those different sizes, different shapes going. And it's funny what you see when you start to look for something. You know that saying, look for the good and you'll see the good? It's seriously so true, and it even applies to like something as silly as sunflowers. When I started painting, doing this painting in particular, and I was more interested in sunflowers, I started seeing them all over the place. Every time I would travel, even on the freeways, I feel like there were sunflowers all along the freeways and everywhere that I was going. Like I swear, everywhere I looked, I saw a sunflower. Not that I was specifically looking for them, but they were just on my mind, I guess, and then I started seeing them everywhere. But they are a pretty special flower. My daughter loves the song Sunflower from the Spider-Verse movie. And so we have dance parties to that song quite a lot. And then something also that's kind of cool about sunflowers is, and I don't even know why I didn't know this until just this year, but their faces follow the sun throughout the day. Which makes sense why they're called sunflowers. How's your dabbing going, guys? Once you start getting those dabs a little bit bigger, it'll fill that space quicker than your smaller dabs, obviously. Also, my designs that I do for paint nights, I specifically plan to make simple. Thanks for joining me. I have to go, but I've enjoyed it. I'll be back tomorrow to finish. Thanks. Are we covering the whole green part? Yep, we're covering it all up. So yeah, I specifically plan my paintings so that they are, so any age can do them. Any age, literally. My little 4-year-old up to 100 plus years old. I do have a couple rules for my in-person paint classes, and for those of you who have attended, you guys know these rules. I love to focus on positivity because it helps you to have a better experience. So I'm going to challenge you guys at home, work on that. I don't want to hear any negative comments. And if you do, you have to replace it with 5 positive comments about yourself. Kind of sounds tough, but actually it really helps with your whole experience. Okay, my whole green is filled in. Now I'm just going to go over kind of randomly, just dabbing all over the place just to kind of fill in the gaps. I don't want it to be too spotty. I want it to kind of mesh together. And then also remember, down here at the bottom, go ahead and dip your paintbrush in that yellow and just start to pull some of the petals out. You don't have to do it to all of them, and they don't have to be perfect, but it does kind of help with the look that, oh yeah, these are sunflowers, they have petals. No rhyme or reason, just whatever ones, just at least a few of the ones right here in the very bottom. I'm just using my tiny brush still. Just dipping it in the yellow, pulling them out like sun rays, just like a typical flower. It's okay if they're kind of meshing together too, that's just fine. Negativity is the death of creativity. Ooh, I like that a lot. Also, negativity is actually very contagious, but so is positivity. So if you can focus on being positive, your efforts will be magnified and contagious. And if you ask me, sunflowers are a sign of happiness. So definitely something good to paint during this time of this crazy life, right? I'm just gonna do a couple random little smudges throughout here just to kind of smudge them up a little bit. What is the black circle? This is brown, and that's going to be the center of our sunflower, our main sunflower. Actually, it's a new planet. Just kidding. That'd be funny though. I have had requests to paint other things. You guys will have to let me know if there's anything specific you would like to see me paint for a virtual paint night. I'm all ears. Okay, guys. I imagine you're probably close to where I'm at, so please let me know if you are. Good. Share to story. Whoops, we lost our Instagram people. Let me restart that. Okay, sorry, we lost Instagram. Instagram is it only allows you to be live for an hour and then it kicks you off, and I wasn't watching the time. So I'm so sorry, Instagram. Hopefully you guys join us again. And then Facebook. I love that we all have the same tools, but our pictures will all be different. It's very true. And one of my favorite things to do at the very end of all of this is to share your picture if you can. Whether you share it in the comments below or you send me a message and you send me your picture, please do. You can tag both Pick Your Plum and myself, Made by Kate, so that I can see. I would love to share it on my platforms as well. Because you're right, they'll all turn out pretty different, but they'll all also look very similar too. Instagram, sorry about that. Instagram kicks you off after an hour, and I was not watching the time, so I'm sorry. But you guys are safe for another hour. Ooh, Galaxy Paint Night. Yeah, so I've had somebody request that before. That's something I'll write it down, actually. A cow, that would be a good one too. If you've come in late, you guys can try to catch up where you were at, or you can wait until the live is over and then you can watch it from the beginning. Okay. Hedgehog would be cute. Alrighty, guys. Please let me know if you're all caught up. Give me a thumbs up if you are, or a heart. This is such a fun painting. I actually really love this painting. Candy. Oh, baby chicks. That'd be cute. Okay, we got some thumbs up. We got some hearts. Oh, poppy filled. What is a silky chicken? I don't know what that is. Pond, garden, koi. All right, I think we're about ready. So, make sure you've cleaned off your brush, your skinny brush. Dry it off completely. Ooh, my interpretation of Starry Night. That would be a really fun one. I love Van Gogh. Cute. You guys are cute. Okay, let's get going. Okay, we are going to paint the stem of our sunflower. So make sure you have some green on your plate. I still have a little bit, but I am going to add maybe a dime size more, maybe a nickel size. We're going to be painting the stem and our leaves right now. So make sure your little brushes are ready. Dry it off completely. And let's do this. Okay, our stem is going to go from the bottom middle of our our stem is going to go from the bottom of our sunflower's center down to the very bottom of our canvas. So center of our flower here, all the way down to the bottom. I'm just going to do a somewhat straight line. If it's a little bit curvy, that's okay. Don't be too hard on yourself. I just dipped my paintbrush in green. Now be careful with your canvas because your flowers may still be wet. And if you need to, you can also turn your canvas so that you have a little bit more control over your lines. Do whatever feels best to you. Just make sure you don't get the paint or smudge it on your hand, on your canvas. Okay, so I'm just going from the center, hold on, center here. I'm just gonna pull it right down. I'm gonna turn this so I have a little more control. Try not to get it too thick. We want it about the same thickness all the way down. But if we get the main part of the stem, then we can go back and touch up the edges and stuff. Remember, it's okay if it's not a perfectly straight line and it's going all the way down the bottom, all the way to the bottom of the canvas. Okay, I'm just touching up my lines now. I'm just going back over it. Dipped my paintbrush in the green. I don't want it to get too thick. I don't want my stem to be too thick. Okay, I'm gonna leave it at that. Now, there are some parts of my stem that are kind of curvy, but that's okay. I'm going to add some leaves to it. The stem and the leaves are green, so we've got this Hooker's green from the paint kit, or something similar to a marsh green. And our sunflower, I'm going to paint 3 leaves on it tonight. So wipe your brush off just on your plate or on your paper towel just to get that extra paint off. We don't want it to be too clumpy or too thick for our painting. I'm going to teach you how to do some leaves. We are going to start with this one down at the bottom. So the first one we're going to do, we want the stem to curve. So I'm going to go just straight off of here. I want it to curve down. I don't want my stem of the leaf to be too thick. I just want it to kind of go right off of it, curve down. And then once we have the initial shape of where our leaf is going to go, the leaf itself is going to be kind of shaped like an almond. We want it to come to a point. An almond or a football, I guess. Come to a point, round it back up, and connect it. We don't want it to go back to the stem. We want it to come on that little curved edge right there. Then we're just going to fill it in with the green. You can make it a little more rounded at the top here if you need to. I'm just dipping my brush in my green when I need to, and I'm just going to straighten out that line a little bit. The key here is that curve of the leaf's stem, and then the point that the leaf comes to. Now you can't probably see it too well on my screen, so I'll do another one. I'll do this one right here in the middle so that you can see that a little bit better. Before I start it again, I'm just wiping my brush off on my plate because it gets a little clumpy and I don't want it to be too thick. So wiping it off, dipping it again. My second leaf is going to be a little bit lower than the middle, between this stem and the middle of our flower. So a little lower than the middle, so about right here. I'm just going to go make a curve for the stem itself, just like that. I'm looking at chat. What do you have a question about, Amanda? All right, so we're making a curve. I'm gonna go all the way down for my almond shape or my football shape. Bring it back around and let it connect. Go ahead and get creative with your leaves if you want to, but these are just the ones that I'm teaching and that I'll be painting. Fill it in. And we're going to do one more leaf, and it's going to be up here towards the top. Middle between this stem and the top of the flower. So make sure you wipe your brush off, get all that extra paint off, dip it in again so it's not too clumpy. You're just going to make that curve for the stem right in the middle between the flower's middle and that stem. We're going to go right in the middle. Do a little curve. You can make this leaf a little bit smaller too because it's the highest, it's the newest one. So we could say it's a little bit smaller. Come to a point, make it wide, and bring it back together. Fill it in. So cute. Any questions about those leaves? This leaf will kind of peekaboo through our petals because we're going to be painting our petals right over the top of it. So just so you know, what's the purpose of this leaf? Well, it's just a cute little detail that's going to peek through. I am making mine a little bit bigger than I anticipated though, because I do want it to show through. If you have questions, please let me know. While we let that green dry, we want most of it to dry right here at the top so that when we paint the petals, they don't blend too much. So while you guys are waiting, this part is really easy. I'll just go ahead and instruct it and you guys can do it as you want to. I'm going to add the brown middles to the sunflower fields. So just wash off your brush, dry it off. You should still have some brown on your plate. Simply just dip your brush in the brown and go ahead and just add some random middles. You don't have to do it to every single flower. I would specifically do some to the bottom ones here because they're the biggest down at the bottom. But you could just do like some random little middles, like little dots. Like I said, not on every single one, but kind of just throughout your field. Go ahead and do that after you're done with the leaves so that we can let those leaves dry for a minute. So just really random little brown middles. Obviously they get smaller the further back you go, but you can still do a couple here and there. Some bigger than the others. Do you also paint with other mediums? Watercolor, oil? Good question. I do. I paint with watercolor. I've never painted oil. I would love to learn someday. But right now I really enjoy acrylic. Maybe I could look into doing a watercolor paint night. That might be kind of fun. Okay, just some random centers, just like that. some cracked pepper sunflower seeds. uh, I don't like the cracked pepper kind, so I don't think I'll be painting those. I only paint what I like, and I don't like cracked pepper. Okay guys, give me a thumbs up or a heart when you guys are all caught up. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to do so. We've got a couple thumbs ups. We've got a couple hearts. Sorry, Facebook is a little wiggly. I moved my hand and I hit my phone holder. What about painting a temple? For a paint night? Maybe. So how I do paint nights, I think of something, or I have somebody request something, and then I practice it. So I practice it myself to make sure, to see how I can simplify it, to see how I can break it down to the least amount of steps possible. That's the whole point of a paint night. It's not necessarily a paint class. It's literally just a 2-hour block to get a painting done. Best you can do by following this instructions in a short amount of time, because a lot of times you could spend hours and hours on a painting. So it has to be simple. So if I thought of something, if I tried to do something like a temple, I would definitely have to work that through and see how I could simplify it, because I like my paint nights to be what's the word? I like them to fit any age, you know, so that kids could do it or older people could do it. Make sure your brushes are all washed out, dried off. In just a minute or two, we're gonna start painting the petals. We're making pretty good time. I can't wait to see how you guys' paintings turn out too. Yeah, that would be a good idea. I will write that down and keep that in mind. Thanks, Cassie. Okay. Let's get our yellows ready. I have about a nickel, dime to a nickel size of yellow. I'm going to put a little bit more. I want about a quarter size. I'm also going to be using, from the paint kit, lemon yellow. I'm going to put about a dime size on my palette. Just next to my yellow, just like that. Okay, let's see. White, so make sure you have plenty of white. If you don't have that yellow lemon color, the lemon yellow color, we can lighten up our yellow gold with white. So just make sure you have white on your plate. This part's fun. What we're gonna do first is we're just going to paint the initial shapes of the petals, and then we'll go over them with multiple colors to add all the fun details, all the little highlights and all the fun little details. I'll show you all those fun colors. Okay. All right, so this one will work best if you have, you can use your small brush. If you do have a medium-sized brush, that will work too. So I'm going to be using this one here. All right, and I'm going to just start with my golden yellow color. So dipping my brush in. Okay, the trick here, we're going to start from the center of our flower and we're going to work our way out. But the purpose here is we want every petal to be about the same size, or at least the same length. So to get that, we're going to start with our top petal, and you can start on the edge or you can even go over the brown a little bit. And it's just going to be a big line. You can focus on the shape in a minute, but really we just want like this initial shape. The shape is rounded. You could do pointy edges. Whatever you want to do, you can do. I don't want the petals to be too fat. I want them to be pretty narrow. And I want them to be about 1.5 inches to 2 inches long. I'm going to pull this up a little bit higher because I want my petals to be a little bit bigger. Okay, another tip and trick. Try not to rest your hand on your canvas. Try to just paint freehand and not rest on it. Might be a little hard. Okay, if you are seeing colors underneath though, don't stress. Like I said, we'll be adding those highlights and those extra colors later. Now I want you to paint one on this edge here, straight out, about 1.5 inches to 2 inches. And then one on the other side. And this is just going to give us a direction of how big our petals need to be, lengthwise and thickness-wise. And it's okay if they go over the brown. Now careful when you're painting over this green. I'm going to, we'll touch that later. So let's just start to fill this in. So let's just start either side. Right next to it, pull it out. Dip as you need to. Work on that shape, whatever shape you want. If you want it to be a little bit more rounded, if you want it to have a little bit more pointy petals. Can they touch? Yes, they sure can touch. This is the yellow ochre color. I think I'm just gonna work my way down, just kind of in a spiral. And if some of the petals are a little bit thinner than others, that's okay. We really just want them all to be about the same length. I'm gonna do that same thing over on this side, just fill in the space. Working on this, the length of each petal. It's okay if they overlap. It's okay if the blue is showing through from the background, because we'll be adding the highlights and the extra colors in a minute. See, I have kind of an awkward space right here. So I'm just going to fill it in with just a smaller little petal. Just like that. Okay, now I'm going to start working down on my bottom side. Same concept, starting from the outside, pulling it in. This time, just be careful when you get close to those green. Just make sure that it's pretty dry before you start to paint over the top of it, okay? Because we don't want it to blend. We don't want to have a green petal. We want to have those bright yellow petals. And like I was saying earlier, that little leaf right there too is just a cute little peekaboo leaf. Just popping through to let you know it's there. If your green is still wet, just wait for a minute. You can blow on it, you can fan it. Try not to paint over it if it's too wet, otherwise it will mush all together and it will blend and you won't be very happy with that. Remember to focus on the length of the petals, because sometimes we can start to go a little bit shorter. And I have another little awkward space right here. I'm just going to fill it in with just another little skinny brush stroke. Just a little guy, just like that. I can also see some of my clouds in the background too, and that's just fine, because we'll be adding those highlights on anyway. What do you guys think? It's coming together. Now it's all about just adding the fun highlights. And then we're done. I'll wait for just a minute for you guys to get caught up, and then I'll show you how to do those highlights. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up or a heart when you guys are caught up. Will we be doing anything else to the center of our sunflower? Yes. We just have some of the highlights, and I'll show you. Oh gosh, sorry. Just some fun little details. We'll just be dabbing some of those extra colors on the inside. Do you want to see some of my other variations of this painting? And one more. See, so I'm excited to see how all of yours turn out. I'll show you one more time. My little girls are standing outside the window where I'm painting, and they're just yelling at me and saying, "Hi, Mom." That's so cute. Okay. All right, let's start adding some highlights. I haven't washed my brush. I'm not going to wash my brush. I am going to just dip it in this this lemon yellow color. Now, for those of you who don't have a lemon yellow, all you need to do is just take some white and some of that golden yellow and make a lighter version of your golden yellow. We just need some variety of colors, so we just want to lighten that up a bit. This is where it gets kind of fun. We get to add the highlights where we like them. And since we already have the initial shape of our petals, it's all about just painting right over the top. So I would suggest starting from the outside and pulling some in. I've got my lighter color, starting from the outside, pulling it in. One easy little stroke. I dip it in my light yellow color, I dab it off a little bit, I press on the outside of the petal, and I pull it in as I lift off. Just kind of a fun little easy technique to add some colorful detail and highlight to your petals. Now if it gets to be too bold and too bright, easy fix. You just dip your brush back in your original color and you just go right over the top of it and it will soften it right up just like so. Dip, dab it off, start from the outside of the petal, pull it in as you lighten it up. If it's too harsh, just use your original color and soften it up by painting over the harsh edge. You can also do that from the inside out too. Start from the inside and pull it out a little bit. And I'm still using my medium brush. You can use whatever shape or size. Small would work really good at this point too. It's just all about adding these fun little details. It's just going to make it all pop and come together. Some of you might be thinking, so why do we have red? Where does red come into play? Well, this is where we can add a little bit of a red pop if you want to. Is it realistic? Probably not, but personally, I love color. So let's see, red or orange. I'm gonna add multiple colors because I love the fun, funky colors. So if you bought the art kit, you're gonna use some burnt sienna, and it's an orange color. You could also use the bright red if you want to. And if you don't have the paint kit, you can just use a red. Just mix it up with some yellow and you'll get a softer reddish orange color. I literally put just a tiny dab on my plate. It's teeny, teeny, tiny. I haven't washed my brush yet. I'm just barely dipping it in. And this time, for this little highlight, I'm using the very tip of my brush and I'm only going on the insides of some of the petals. Insides. And it's the tip of my brush. With that burnt sienna. If you don't have the paint kit, you can just make it yourself with some red and some of your golden yellow. And I'm not doing every petal, I'm just doing a couple of them. Wiping your brush off as you go, just going on the insides. Now if you get a line that's too harsh and you don't like it, you can fix it by just dabbing into that original golden yellow color and painting softly over the top of it. Kind of fun way to just add a little extra pop of color, which I am a big fan of. No need to do it if you don't like it. So. Another little thing we can do, dry brush technique, we can start to add some of those little highlights inside of our center. To do so, my paintbrush is just dabbed off. It's not completely dry, has a tiny bit of paint on it, and I'm just doing a couple little dabs in this bottom left swoop. just dabbing in the bottom left swoop. Okay, so like that. Do you ever sell your paintings? Not very often. Once in a while I will. I really should do something with them because I have stacks and stacks of paintings from my paint nights, because my paint nights I always paint a complete painting with. So I have a lot of paintings. So go ahead, and I just dipped my brush in a little bit more of that bright yellow. I'm just going to do a couple more dabs on my centers here. Now, if you do too big of a dab and you don't like how it's looking, really easy fix. You can just grab your original brown color. So say I kind of do a couple little swipes to just show like a circular shape or motion. I don't like that, so I just dabbed my brush in some brown. I'm just going to go right over the top of it just to soften it up. See? Easy fix. While you have your brown, you can also use the very tip of your brush, whether you're using a medium brush or a skinny brush, and you can add a couple little, I'll switch it out to my small brush so you can see this, little lines coming from the inside out. Maybe not on every single petal, maybe just on a couple, just from the inside, just kind of coming out like this. You can do it on every one, or you can just do it on a couple of them. Just slight little lines that come out off of the center and onto the petal. Once again, if you do too big of a line, if it's too thick, and you're like, oh crap, I just messed up my petal. Easy fix. Just get the original yellow color and soften it up. What color are the highlights in the middle? I'm going to be adding a couple more highlights in my middle. Right now it's just the golden color and a little bit of that orange, burnt orange color. But I'm actually going to show you what else I'm going to do. So just a sec. Because we also need to add a couple highlights to our leaves as well. Okay, I like how that's looking. You can even add a couple little reddish highlights to that center too. I'm big on color. I'm going to keep saying that, so you guys know you don't have to do this if you don't want to, but I love the extra pop of color. So I'm just going to do a couple little random dabs of color here in my center. Wiping my brush off just on my plate or on the paper towel as I go. And if you get a dab in a place that you don't really like, just dip it back in your brown and go over the top of it. It will soften it right up. One other color I would like to include on my middle, and really, really random, but it kind of ties the painting together for me anyways, is a blue dab. So I just dipped my brush in some of my light blue color. I'm just going to do a couple little dabs. Just a couple, not very many. And that's kind of light, so I'm just going to put a yellow right on the top of it. Kind of just a fun little technique that personally I like to do to my paintings. See, that's what art's all about, just making it your own. Doing what feels good to you, doing what feels right to you. There's no right or wrong way. And if you get heavy on the highlights, just do a couple dabs of brown and it will soften it right up. All right. last but not least, well, actually, real quick before we do the highlights on the leaves, you can go ahead and put a couple highlights on your flowers, on your fields too. I dipped my brush, my skinny brush, in my lighter yellow color, and I'm just dabbing it off a little bit so there's not so much paint. I'm just gonna do a couple little dabs of that lighter yellow color on my field, just to give a couple little highlights here and there. No rhyme or reason, just kind of all over the place, just to kind of highlight that field so it's not just a plain golden color. There's a little bit of highlights throughout it. Holler if you have any questions. Okay, and then for our leaf, I'm gonna mix up, I still have a bunch of green on my plate, so I'm just gonna pull some of that. I'm going to add some yellow to it, maybe some of my golden yellow to it, actually. I don't want that that's too limey for me, so I'm just gonna add some of my golden yellow. That looks a little better, that's a little more of a sage green. This point is just kind of fun. It's just a little highlight. So it's just a brush stroke. I'm using my skinny brush, just a little brush stroke down. If it's too bold or too bright or too thick for you, which it could be, you just grab your original green color and you just go right back over it, and that will just help kind of blend it up. And this is kind of just a fun part where you can just add those details, those highlights where you want them. Kind of like the petals on our sunflower, I like the leaves to be kind of funky as well. So I'm just adding maybe some of those stripes to the leaves. What are they? Veins. If it's a little too much, I'll go back over it with my darker green color. Can't do much with this little guy back in the back, so I won't even bother touching him, but I am also going to add just a couple little streaks down my stem just to add some more fun color. A little bit of the lighter green, just to kind of change, so it's not just a plain color. Does that make sense? So also while you're adding the fun little pops of color to your leaves, you can also add some funky colors too, if you dare. Like maybe a little brush stroke of some gold. You could even try a little bit of the orange color. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's really subtle, but just kind of fun. That's the fun part of these paintings. These paintings are not realistic. They are just impressionistic. So you can really do whatever you want to do. This sunflower can be whatever you can dream of. And if you want to, you could even add a little bit of blue to those leaves as well. Just a little pop of blue on the edge there. Once again, if you get a color that you don't like or a streak that you don't like, just go ahead and fix it with your original green color. Dip your brush back in the green. Don't even bother washing it. And the very last thing I'm going to do, I just washed my brush out. I'm going to just add a couple little more highlights to my petals, and then I'm going to be done. So I'm just going to dip my brush in, well, make sure it's completely washed out and dried off first. We don't want any green to show. Okay. I'm just going to make a light cream color, almost white, just to add a couple little highlights to my edges. Starting on the outside edges of my petals here, and just kind of going across the edge, kind of just like a little swoop One little brush stroke on every little petal's edge. The same side of every petal, just a cute little whitish creamish highlight. And it just kind of makes those petals pop. If you get too big of a streak, you just fix it up with your original golden color, just like so. I like it. I just put a couple little more highlights on my leaf too. Just touch up where you need to. You guys, that is it. How did I make it creamy? It was just my golden color mixed with my white, and it was this light creamy color. Will this be on live? Will this live be on Pick Your Plum for a few days? Yes, it will be for at least a week up on Pick Your Plum's Facebook page. You guys, that is the end of the painting. I'm going to stay on for the next 12 minutes for you guys to ask any questions. Oh, I am going to touch up my cloud back here. So go ahead and, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, Facebook. I keep bumping your stand. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. Just as a reminder, this paint night was free, but I would happily accept tips if you want to. My Venmo is Made by Kate. And like I said, I will stay on for the next 10 minutes to answer any questions that I can. And don't forget to either add your pictures, take a picture of your painting and add it in the comments below, or send it to me on Instagram, or to Pick Your Plum on Instagram. We'll post when we can. I just love to see what you guys come up with. Go ahead and ask questions if you have. I'm just gonna fix up my cloud, and then we'll end at 9 o'clock. And I'm just doing some circular motions on this cloud up here that I didn't really like. With just a little bit of white, just a tiny bit, not a lot. Circular little bubbly motions. And that's how I'm getting that texture and that look. But really the main star of the show are this was acrylic. Can you show what your Venmo looks like? Maybe. One sec. Hey, can I use someone's phone for a Venmo to show them on my screen real quick? Can you pull up my Venmo? So you just search my name and then pull up my account? Can we bring it down here? Okay, go ahead and ask questions. I'm happy to answer what I can. I'm going to show you what my Venmo looks like. I don't know how to do the little QR thing, but that's what my Venmo looks like.
You'd probably have to do it from your own.
Made by Kate. Yeah, go ahead and sign your name. I'd suggest doing it in the bottom right, or you can always bottom left, wherever. I'll do my little initials right here in the corner. I showed the Venmo thing on. Can you see the variations of this painting? My Venmo, the picture I was showing you was on my sister's phone and she just ran upstairs. Okay, I'll comment on here so you guys can see. My Venmo is Made by Kate. Instagram. Okay. Venmo is Made by Kate. Instagram is Made by Kate. I would love to do an Americana painting, maybe closer to July. I'm glad you guys had fun. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Can we see the variations of this painting? Yeah. Here, I'll set them up and then I'll move my screen so you guys can see. Hold on. Oh, are you asking, can we see my variations or everybody's variations? Everyone, if they want to, can post their picture in the comments on Facebook, and then you can scroll through and see those ones. But if you wanted to see my variations, now I have 4. Okay. Oh yeah, okay. There you go. Last 4 digits of my phone number, 3645. Okay guys, you got 6 minutes to ask any questions if you have any. Thank you guys for joining me. I had a ton of fun. This was my 4th virtual paint night that I've done. I would like to do more. As of right now, I don't have any specific ones planned quite yet. But you can follow along my Instagram, Made by Kate, and I'll also be collaborating with Pick Your Plum again. You can try to post your photo when the live is over. So in 5 minutes. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for joining me. As a reminder, Instagram Live will be available for 24 hours after this is over, and Facebook video will be available for at least a week on Pick Your Plum. Thank you. Glad you joined me. Ooh, post your picture on Instagram and tag Made by Kate and Pick Your Plum, and we'll give away 2 $25 gift cards early next week to some random artists. Thank you so much for joining. Cool. Good to know. You can find my previous paint night videos on my Facebook page, Made by Kate. Thank you so much for doing these. Always so much fun. Thank you, Emily. You guys are so awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. I cannot wait to see what you guys came up with. Okay, you got 2 minutes if you have any other questions. Don't forget to wash out your brushes when you're all the way done. Well, hopefully you guys will join me again for my next paint night. Sorry, I don't know when that will be, but just follow along, both Pick Your Plum and Made by Kate, and we'll hopefully do another one soon. All right, that's it. Thank you guys again for joining me. See you next time.